There are things they fed us for school lunch that we should not have been eating. So we have these magical little milk cartons at 11 a.m. with pizza. How are we not little fart boxes as soon as we got to the classroom? If I tried to eat this now, I couldn't be 10 feet away from a toilet at all times. We were really drinking this milk goo, thinking it was like the fountain of youth serum with Michael Phelps and a little milk mustache saying got milk in the cafeteria wall. This was a little crazy. Except we have Bosco sticks, which were little breadsticks filled with like a very, very plasticky, stringy cheese. Like it got mixed up in the Mattel factory. Also, these breadsticks always looked like they needed a Florida vacation. They were always so pale. And finally, it's not delivery, it's not DiGiorno, it may not even be classified as pizza, it's the famous rectangle pizza. These little button pepperonis look like they may have got lost on the way to a Joann fabric store, and the pizza was probably frozen longer than the Ice Age, but we loved it, and they were really charging us $4.99 a day for this. There are things they fed us for school lunch that we should not have been eating. Part 2. So we have strawberry milk. Now, for whatever reason, a couple of these would pop up on a random Monday, and the first kids in line in the lunchroom would grab them and hold them around like it was a Louis Vuitton bag in the lunchroom. Also, there was always some ice chunks in these, like they had just found them in the back of the freezer, and if you weren't the kind of person that checked the expiration date, I might have some bad news for you. Except we have taco in a bag. Now, ours was not this nice. It was just meat, cheese, and Fritos, and this day would pop up randomly, but we all got so excited when it happened. But because it wasn't on schedule, I'm a little afraid that like some raccoons were found in the schoolyard, and they were like, guess it's taco in a bag day tomorrow. I know I'm gonna get hate for this, but I have to say it. What was this? No matter how long you microwaved it for, there were always frozen chunks in the middle. And what was the jam? Like, it was always so runny. It was not some vineyard jam. I think it was petroleum jelly at best. The things they fed us for school lunch that we should not have been eating. Part 3. First, we have these juice cups, which seems like the least efficient way to serve juice to third graders, but okay. So it always give you a tiny coffee straw that couldn't slurp up all the ice chunks in this like it was left over from the moon landing, and 100% pure. This tasted a little funky, maybe like as pure as yellow snow. Then we have the cookies, which were so good, but were so underbaked. I think they just stuck these in an easy bake oven for 2 minutes and was like, that probably killed any bacteria. Like, why was there not a salmonella outbreak at my school? I have no idea, but I loved every minute of it. We have the salad. This looks like the lettuce that even the class rep it didn't want to eat. I mean, Subway wouldn't even serve this lettuce, and that's really saying something because they don't even know what their tuna's made of. Allegedly. Remember when we all got so mad at Michelle Obama because she begged us to eat a vegetable? This is not what she was talking about. There are things they fed us for school lunch that we should not have been eating. Part 4. We have the chicken nuggets, which always had like a little gray hue to them, like they were the ones McDonald's didn't want. And I'm no chicken nugget expert, but I don't think they were supposed to bounce, but they certainly did. I think they just mixed in a little bit of rubber in it to cut costs. Nothing harmful though. We have barrel juice. Now these were so good, but I use the term juice here very liberally because I don't think these ever had any form of fruit in their life cycle. This was literally liquidized sugar. I don't want to look at the nutritional content because I'm very afraid to ruin my childhood with this. Finally, we have the smiley fries, which were always my favorite right behind the curly fries. They were never quite microwaved correctly. There were always some like cold chunks in the middle just for good measure. And now I just feel like they look a little bit creepy to me. I don't think I need to give the movie comparison for this, but we used to hold them in front of our face like a little mask and then eat them, and I don't know, it just feels wrong now. Things they fed us for school lunch that we should not have been eating. Part 6. We have the corn. Now this was always so watery, like the concept of a strainer was completely lost, and there were always a couple hard pieces in there, like a third grader lost a tooth and it got caught in the corn mix, but I do commend them for giving us a vegetable, and every once in a while we got corn on the cob, and that was a day we rejoiced, and I don't really know why, because what's the difference? Except we have Dunkaroos. This was my treat of choice when I brought my lunch from home. Have you ever said, let's just skip the cake and just eat frosting, because then this is the treat for you? There's absolutely no nutritional value, which is fine, but I am starting to realize why I'm an adult with an emotional eating problem. So we have the corn dog, which looks like it got shriveled on the blacktop for a little while and then wrapped in corn. It looks like the lady from SpongeBob that goes, chocolate! I remember chocolate! You know, this one. I have to say, looks aside, this was one of the better things that we had for lunch. It's like the Shrek of the lunchroom. A little rough around the edges, but really good inside. Things they fed us for school lunch that we should not have been eating. Part 6. We have the burger. Now, the beef was always so tough and plasticky. I think they just took the leftover Frisbees from gym class and just stuck them on a piece of cheese and in a bun, because these were so hard to chew through. Also, the little plastic pellets, like rubber turf for our playground, smelled and tasted exactly like this, and I'm starting to think that wasn't a coincidence. We have the ice cream, which was always really good, but always had like a couple ice chunks in it just for flavor, and then I'd always have chocolate on my face the rest of the day because I was like a messy third grader. Also, they always gave us like a wooden spoon to eat these with. Like, how did we not get splinters on our tongue? Could you imagine just being like, We have the mac and cheese, which was so soupy. I think it's the reason they invented the spork, because you cannot eat this with a spoon or a fork by itself. Also, it was always like sandy tasting, like it had like little sawdust in it. Do you know what I'm talking about? I'm starting to think this was not a cheddar and Gruyere mix. I'm a little curious what cheese this was actually. Things they fed us for school lunch that we should not have been eating. Part 7. So we have the nachos. Severe lack of nutrition aside, the chips were always so salted just to cover up the fact that they made a couple laps around their expiration date. And what was this cheese? We were really on the playground like, don't swallow your gum, it'll be in you for 7 years. This cheese is never gonna break down. There'll be 2 things on this planet long after we're gone: styrofoam and whatever this is. We have these triangle hash browns. I have a vague recollection of these. They would just appear randomly, like an alien felt bad for us on their Earth reconnaissance mission Compilation and would drop these off for us. This was like the first and possibly the last time I've ever felt joy, and it is responsible for third graders with fatty livers, but who cares? And then we have the grilled cheese, which has never seen a heat source in its entire life. You'd be better off just putting 2 pieces of bread on a tire because you're never going to be able to bite through this. Getting through this cheese is harder than a James Bond mission, but I think cheese has some protein, and that's how they got away with this being like a main course. And don't worry, the bread, whole grain. Things they fed us for school lunch that we should not have been eating. Part 8. So we had the carrots. They always came in this little bag, and it made them so slimy. Like if you close your eyes, you really could think you were eating escargot. Also, I'm pretty sure carrots are supposed to crunch. These did not. They were a little too flexible for my liking, and they always had a couple bruises on them just for show, like a Real Housewives fist fight. So we have these Switch soda cans. This is really only a distant memory for me, but I remember being so excited that we were getting soda and then tasting this, and it kind of felt like a fruit had burped in the can and then they bottled it up. Also, giving third graders things that make them gassy, not a great idea. An excuse to belch and with a room full of children, bad. And look at the rice. This was always hard on the outside and suspiciously chewy on the inside. One day, me and my friends decided that we were going to feed the birds, so we brought this rice out to them, and they wouldn't eat it. Birds will lap up a fruit roll-up that's been roasting in the sun for 10 days, so I'm a little bit curious why they were unappetized. These are things they fed us for school lunch that we should not have been eating. Part 9. So we have the ranch packets. These were usually served alongside a flexible celery stick, and the ranch was so watered down that these packets would just like secrete ranch juice. Kind of disgusting, but it still tasted good because it's ranch, and it's like one of the only things we have going for us in America. But I do think the government just planted these in our schools to like see what our stomachs could handle, and hey, I turned out okay. So we have these juice bars. They'd always leave these in the back of the freezer and like forget about them. So when they did make an appearance, like the juice and the ice had separated too much. Like imagine having a Coke and just having the syrup in one glass and the water in another glass. It was kind of disgusting. They were clearly trying to be those delicious flavor ice sticks, and they did not compete. We have the spaghetti and meatballs. Now the spaghetti was both undercooked and overcooked at the same time. And the meatballs, what meat? Because they never really tasted quite the same as the last time. Also, there was a major road by my school, and there was always roadkill when the bus came in the morning, and then it was gone in the afternoon. Sure, it's unrelated though. And also the garlic bread. You can't just put garlic near a piece of wheat bread and call it garlic bread. That's not how that works. There are things they fed us for school lunch that we should not have been eating. Part 10. So we have the burrito. You know when Taco Bell's horse meat is high quality in comparison that you have an issue. Also, the beans weren't supposed to be crunchy, but they definitely were. And then they sent us back to the classroom for like 3 more hours and closed the windows. God bless our teachers. So we have clodhoppers. These look like rat poop, but they tasted like heaven. Oh my God. They only exist as a distant memory in my head, but I remember loving these, and now they're gone. I think Nestle like sank this company because they knew they'd never be able to make a snack this good. And we have the tater tots. I have no idea how the fries tasted like they came out of a microwave 3 days ago, and these tater tots tasted like they just came out of the county fair's deep fry, but oh my God, were these good. They really gutted our whole entire menu to make it healthier for us, but they did keep these because they looked at the lives ahead of us and said, baby, it's not going to be good. We're going to leave you with some piece of joy. The things they fed us for school lunch that we should not have been eating. Part 11. So we had the grilled chicken sandwich. Was there like a 3rd grade bodybuilder that was on a cut and was like, hey, Carol, put some protein powder in my chalky milk while you're at it? No, there's no reason for this. It should be crispy or bust. Also, this was so dry and rubbery. One time we were out of tennis balls and we were trying to play wall ball, so we just used this, and honestly, it worked better. Except with the applesauce, this always tasted kind of grainy, like dusty. Like if you ever go to your grandma's house and you accidentally put your tongue on one of her precious moments statues and you're like, Grandma, you really need to Swiffer. Also, if you've ever read the packaging, it said may contain real fruit. May? What's in here? Finally, we have green eggs and ham. This always coincided with Dr. Seuss's birthday. Now, I'm not asking how, but I am asking why. Nobody asked for this. Nobody needed it. It looks like a plate of cartoon vomit. It's like the Emoji Movie. It sounds bad, and then in actuality, it's worse.